Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. This is Tosif, and I'm back with a new live stream. And we will be talking about the U.S. housing market. Now, my friends, when we think of the basic necessities in life, one is food, very basic necessity. Everyone needs food. People need food to survive. Clothing, food, clothing, basic necessities, and then also healthcare. I think healthcare is a basic necessity. People often get stuck with the question: Is healthcare a right or a privilege? Okay, I just simply say healthcare is a necessity. Okay, it absolutely is. And then there's shelter, housing. People need shelter. People need housing, and so um, housing is a basic necessity. And today I thought I'm going to share with you my views regarding the US housing market. Now, um, you can disagree, you can agree, it's up to you. Um, I want to hear your thoughts. Obviously, make sure you are sharing your thoughts in the live chat window. There's also a question that I have posted over here in the live chat. Um, there's a poll section. It says, "Do you oppose property tax increase?" Okay. So share with me your thoughts on that, my friends. I see a couple of votes already, and hopefully more people will be tuning in and voting. So, my friends, let's talk about housing. I'm going to share with you my thoughts. I want to hear from you. I'm going to give you some information from my observation, from my analysis, the things I hear, the things people have told me, the things I have researched. I'm going to share with you my thoughts, and then you can let me know what you are seeing, what you are hearing, what you are experiencing. I see a few people have already joined. That's wonderful. Frank is here from Florida. Frank is here. Ahmed is here. Uh, Ziad, is it Ziad? Ziad is here. Michael Brown is here. Michael Brown, so good to see you. All right, my friends, let's get started. So there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding the U.S. housing market, and whenever there's uncertainty, it affects home buyers, it affects realtors, and it affects anyone who has some role to play in the U.S. housing industry or is in some way, shape, or form connected to the U.S. housing market. So let's say you have a moving company. Let's say you've got trucks, you've got employees, and whenever somebody has to move, changing residence, you provide those services. You provide the supplies and the labor needed to move. Okay, to pack all the stuff, all the furniture, all the belongings in boxes, load them up, load them onto a truck, drive the truck to the destination from point A to point B, and then unload the stuff. So if you are somebody like that, you are connected to the housing market. Okay, if people are buying more homes, if people are moving, if people are changing addresses, then there's a greater need for um, supplies and services to make the move possible. So that's what I'm saying. If there's uncertainty in the housing market, you're affected as a home buyer, you're affected as a realtor, you are affected if you are providing some kind of products or services connected to housing, to the housing industry. Now, I have friends who are realtors. I have many realtor friends. I have friends who are looking to buy homes. And so I keep hearing from people about the housing market quite a bit. Okay. In my everyday conversations, we talk about housing. Housing comes up. I talk to a lot of bankers, okay, a lot of people who are connected to the financial side of mortgage, of loans. So I hear from them also. And, over the last few years, and this is just my observation, over the last few years, the housing market in the United States has not exactly been friendly towards first-time home buyers. If you if you go back and just revisit the last 4 years, okay? We're not going to go back too much. Just think about the last 4 years. First-time home buyers faced a lot of challenges. A lot of challenges. And I'm not talking about the multimillionaire first-time home buyers, okay? All right. I'm not talking about the person who's got, you know, a few $1,000,000 in the bank and is looking to buy the first home. Okay. I'm not talking about that market. I'm talking about your average first time home buyer. Okay. Maybe somebody in the 20s. Okay. And we know a lot of people end up buying homes first time for the first time when they're in their 30s. Okay. It's always better if people have the financial ability to buy their first home in the 20s. But a lot of people, they face challenges, and they are in their 30s, maybe close to 40 by the time they buy their first home, and maybe even in the 40s, maybe even in the 40s. Okay. So anyway, I'm talking about your your average first time home buyer, somebody who's working towards building a career, somebody who wants to start a family, somebody who has to rely on, um, you know, a mortgage to buy a home. I'm not talking about your cash buyer. I'm not talking about somebody who's paying, 300, 350, $400,000 cash to buy a home. Okay. And that number is going to vary depending on what state you are in. Okay, if you're in California, homes cost a lot more. Okay, if you are in Wisconsin, homes still cost a lot, but not as much as California. So anyway, I'm talking about the first time home buyers. Uh, Over the last 4 years or so, first time home buyers faced a lot of challenges. I've heard from people who said that they cannot afford to buy their first home in spite of working hard to save money for a down payment. And there are many reasons for that. There are many, many reasons for that. Um, you know, we heard about low inventory, right? We heard about low inventory, which resulted in lots of competition among buyers. And so if there was a house on the market, as soon as it was listed for sale, people made offers, and um, you know, in there are, when you talk to realtors, you're gonna know this. Um, there were bidding wars. There were bidding wars. Okay, if it was listed for $350,000, somebody probably came in and said, "Hey, I'm gonna pay more than $350,000." And probably cash. Okay, I'm gonna write a check. So people who had more financial strength. Ken is here. Ken, so good to see you. Ken from Appleton. Good to see you, Ken. Good morning. And Ken, maybe you can share some thoughts. If you have some thoughts that you want to share about the U.S. housing market. Ken is in Wisconsin. I'm in Wisconsin. Um, Talking about housing. So, Ken, if you want to share your thoughts, let me know. But yeah, what I'm saying is over the last 4 years, first time home buyers faced many challenges. And so, as I was saying, using an example, let's say a house is for sale for $350,000. Maybe the first time home buyer comes in and says, "Hey, I've, I'm going to borrow money. I'm going to buy this. Here's my offer. Somebody may come in, somebody with greater financial strength may come in and say, "Hey, I'm going to pay more than $350,000." Okay. Um, and I don't need mortgage. Okay. I mean, if people have money, they can just buy, make a purchase without mortgage. And so when you get into a situation like that, which I did hear about from my realtor friends, um, it's just challenging for the first time home buyer. So low inventory, lots of competition among buyers, bidding wars, and then a very big point that I think we all know about, which I still definitely need to mention, um, high mortgage rate. High mortgage rates make it very, very difficult for first time home buyers to get their first home. And there are other factors that influence decision making of people looking to buy homes, such as, property taxes. And that's why I've got that question that, I see people are answering. The question is, do you oppose property tax increase? Okay. When property taxes go up, it home ownership becomes more difficult. So understand one thing, my friends. Understand one thing. When we talk about the American dream of home ownership, when we talk about the American dream of home ownership, keep in mind that Democrat politicians and their policies have made home ownership very, very difficult, especially over the last 4 years. People have struggled a lot because of Democrat policies, at the federal level, at the local level, state level. Democrat policies have made home ownership very difficult. In Democrat heavy communities, you're going to find that property taxes are high. You're probably going to find that Democrat politicians are proposing to raise property taxes even further, which makes buying a home less attractive. If you know that you'll be paying high taxes if you buy a home, then people are less inclined to buy a home, particularly when the economy is bad, like we have seen during the Biden administration. The Biden economy was so bad. And Joe Biden's 4 years in office, so bad. I mean, various economic indicators were heading in the wrong direction. And so, in an economy like that, in the Biden economy, home buying became very, very difficult, especially for first time home buyers. And also, understand this, and we've talked about this numerous times. I've been doing these live streams since January of last year, and we've talked about it. If you've been connected to my channel for months or for more than a year, then you heard me talk about it. Biden inflation eroded the value of money. Joe Biden's policies, the Democrat policies, Biden was not alone. It was Biden, and then it was Biden's Democrat allies in Washington. Their policies caused inflation, which eroded the value of money, meaning that people were worse off. They saw their money lose value, and so investing in a new home became more difficult. And buying a home is not very simple. Okay? It's not like, buying any other consumer product. Okay? It's not like buying a furniture. It's not like buying, new electronic devices, and not like buying a phone or buying a laptop. Okay. Marjorie is here. Marjorie, so good to see you. Thank you for being here, Marjorie. Good morning to you. Um, Buying a home is not very simple. It's a whole new set of responsibilities that a homeowner has to be ready for. For example, when you own a home, when you buy a home, you have to maintain it. It's an asset. When you buy a smartphone, you still have to take care of your smartphone. You have to make sure you're not dropping it on the floor or dropping it in the water. You have to take care of it. You have to charge it. But it's different because a smartphone is going to lose value over time. A car you have to maintain. You buy a car, you're driving it, you have to do the maintenance, timely maintenance. You have to get the oil change, tire rotation. You have to get other services completed on time in order to make sure that your car is running properly. But a car will still lose value over time. But a house, it's an asset. And in an ideal situation, a house will go up in value. Okay. Now, that can vary depending on the condition of the home, which is why you have to maintain it. You have to pay for repairs, and then you have to take care of the property. If you've got a lawn, you have to mow the lawn. A front yard, a backyard, you have to mow the lawn. You have to, if you live in Wisconsin, you gotta clear the snow. If there's snow falling, as a homeowner, you have responsibilities. You have to address the snow. You have to clear the snow, remove the snow, you know. Um, and then people have to pay for insurance premiums to insure the home, and premiums have become quite hefty. We know that. Edwin is here. Hi, Edwin. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. So, people have to pay hefty premiums for home insurance, and there are many expenses associated with owning a home. And when the value of money falls, as we have seen when there's inflation, it just becomes increasingly difficult to afford these expenses. And so keep in mind also that the supply chain crisis that we experienced during the Biden-Harris years, supply chain crisis made things very, very expensive. Paul is here. Hi, Paul. Good to see you. Thank you for being here. My friends, please make sure that you're hitting the like button, okay? It is very, very important. When you hit the like button, this video can reach more people. So that's why it is important that you hit the like button, like this video, share this video, and if you're here for the first time, please subscribe. I would appreciate that very, very much. Okay, Carl is here. Hello, Carl. So supply chain crisis, we saw tremendous supply chain crisis, severe supply chain crisis during the Biden-Harris years, and materials were difficult to find, parts were difficult to find, which made repairs and construction very pricey, and hence it became more expensive to buy a home. It became more expensive to maintain a home. And as I've said, the Democrats, they are always looking for ways to increase property tax. And you will see this in Democrat cities, in Democrat states. Democrats are always looking for ways to increase the property tax. I mean, look at Democrat-run cities like Milwaukee and Madison. I'm not going to go too far. You know what's going on in your state if you're paying attention. Okay. If you live in a Democrat-heavy state or a Democrat-heavy city, you probably already know this. I'm going to talk about what's going on in my state of Wisconsin. I'm going to talk about two cities, two examples, Democrat-heavy Madison and Democrat-heavy Milwaukee. And we know in Madison and Milwaukee, the politicians, the Democrats running these two cities, they are trying to raise property taxes. They're trying to raise property taxes. In Madison and Milwaukee, run by Democrats. So sadly, and you're going to find this very, very shocking, what I'm about to tell you. Here in Madison, the voters approved, and this happened last year, this was on the ballot. The voters approved a referendum to raise $22 million through property taxes. Because Madison faced a $22 million budget deficit. Madison, this was big news when we first found out, like, oh, Madison is facing a $22 million budget deficit. And then, so the voters here approved a referendum to raise $22 million through property tax. I'm like, who in the world votes for property tax increase? But that's exactly what happened in Madison. And the voters in Madison did this. They approved property tax increase. I'm like, oh my God. What are the voters thinking? Unbelievable. Okay, unbelievable. Give me 1 second. Unbelievable. This happened in Madison. Okay, so that's why I'm asking this question in the live chat. I've got a poll. You can see it. Do you oppose property tax increase? Yes, I oppose property tax increase. What about you? Do you oppose property tax increase? Because in the city of Madison, people voted for a property tax increase. It is mind-boggling. I don't understand this. Okay, anyway. Property tax, whenever property tax is increased, that hurts homeowners. Obviously, if you've got a home and your property tax goes up, it affects you, it hurts you. But it also hurts renters. Let's say you don't have a house. You are a renter. You pay rent to your landlord. You live in an apartment. Property tax goes up. You don't own a house. So how does that affect you? Well, if your landlord is paying higher property tax, then very, very likely your rent is going to increase as well. So whether you're a homeowner or a renter, if there's a property tax increase in your community, it's going to affect you. Even if you don't own a home, if you're not the owner of a house, if you are a renter, your rent is likely going to go up because of property tax increase. Okay? So property tax is a headache for homeowners as well as renters. So what's going on with the housing market now? Let's talk about that. We know that Democrats do everything possible to make homeownership difficult. Would you agree when I say that? The Democrats, they come up with all these policies, all these strategies to make home ownership difficult in America. So what's going on now? Well, we are still suffering from the damage done by the Democrats over the last 4 years. Many people are still struggling to afford to buy their first home. And Secretary Scott Turner of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, okay? Secretary Scott Turner wants to ensure, because now we have a new administration in charge. It's the Trump administration. So they are repairing They're trying to repair the damage done by the Democrats over the last 4 years, from 2021 to end of 2024. The Democrats, they caused a lot of damage, and so the Trump administration is trying to repair the damage. And there's a great HUD secretary now, Scott Turner. Um, so Secretary Scott Turner, he wants to ensure that hardworking Americans can buy a home. If people work hard, if they are being honest, if they are working hard, if they are contributing to the success of the United States, they deserve to be able to buy a home. And, people say that home ownership is a way to build generational wealth. The payments that you make, it it helps you build equity, and it helps you build wealth. And then if you are able to build wealth, your kids will be better off, your grandkids will be better off, so building generational wealth through home ownership. That's what a lot of people focus on. And right now, there's a housing affordability crisis in this country. And it's largely because of what the Democrats did, the damage that the Democrats caused, especially over the last 4 years. And so there's a housing affordability crisis in this country, and the Trump administration is working very hard to solve this problem. Now, to ensure a thriving housing market, um, you know, basically, let me explain a housing market in which people can actually buy homes and they can thrive. That's what I mean when I say a thriving housing market. Okay. A housing market in which, you know, the middle class can afford to buy a home. Okay. The first time home buyers can afford to buy a home. The young people can afford to buy a home. Okay. People in their 20s can afford to buy a home. Okay. That's what I mean when I say a thriving housing market. I don't mean, oh, it's only the wealthy who are going to be able to buy a home and luxury homes and high-end homes. No. When I say a thriving housing market, what I mean is if you are a 28-year-old, you're working on building a career, and you got married, you've got your first kid, and you are looking to buy a home, you should be able to buy a home if you're working hard, if you're being honest, if you are trying to pursue the American dream, you should be able to buy a home. And if you're able to do that, then it's a good housing market. So, my friends, to ensure that we have a great housing market, red tape has to be removed. There's a lot of red tape in the housing industry at various levels, federal level, local level, at different levels of government. The more red tape there is, the higher the cost of construction and the less affordable the homes become. Okay? If it's costing more money to build homes, then those homes will have a higher price tag and the less affordable the homes become. So red tape has to be removed, and the Trump administration is committed to making homes more affordable by removing red tape. Okay? So there's a lot of restriction, there's height restriction, there's density restriction, there are different zoning restrictions, and the Trump administration is looking into all of that. And the government, and I saw this, um, I was watching an interview that Secretary Turner did. Um, what network I forgot. I can look it up, but the government reportedly is looking at underutilized federal land to build more housing. Um, this is great. Look at, I mean, there's a lot of federal land. Look at federal land. Look at the underutilized federal land. By federal land, it's not like, or you're looking at a national park for building housing. No, that's not what this means. There's a lot of federal land, and you look at underutilized federal land, and you see if there's a way to build more housing. Okay. I'm not going to be able to discuss the details of that during this live stream, but it's something that I know government is looking at. So it's something we have to keep an eye on, and hopefully we can talk about it more in the near future. Now, if you are someone with a lot of money, okay, you got millions of dollars in the bank, okay, you've got a lot of investment, you've got a lot of cash, and you know you're looking to buy a home, well, maybe you don't need a loan. I mean, you can get a loan if you want, but if you've got a lot of money, okay, if you've got a few $1,000,000 and you want to buy a home, maybe you can afford to just just pay for it without a loan, okay? Then it's a lot easier for you to navigate the housing market. You just select a house and you pay the asking price. Or maybe if there's bidding competition, if there's bidding war, if there's bidding going on, if there are multiple potential buyers, then maybe you pay over asking price. But only if you can afford to do that. Not everyone can afford to do that. If you don't need a mortgage, if you don't need a loan, if you've got cash, money sitting in the bank, you look at a home, it says it's $400,000, you can pay more than $400,000 to bid and to be able to make that purchase. And there are people like that. And since the COVID outbreak, I think this has happened. There are people who did not have to rely on a loan to buy a house. There are people who could pay more than the asking price. And so, in a situation like that, the person who needs to borrow money from the bank to buy a house is probably not going to win that bidding war. If there's a $400,000 home for sale and you have to borrow money to buy that $400,000 home, but if somebody is coming and can afford to pay $420,000 and doesn't have to rely on a loan, that person is likely to be able to buy that house. So, you know, people with more financial means, they can navigate the housing market more easily than a young professional looking to buy the first home who has to rely on a loan. But remember this, my friends, most people rely on a mortgage. Um, most people rely on a mortgage. Most people don't have money sitting in the bank to buy a house with cash. Yeah, people save up for down payment. Maybe they save up for a hefty down payment. But to be able to pay for the whole house with a check, most people cannot afford to do that. And if we're talking about first-time home buyers, they likely don't have the ability to pay for a new house all cash. They don't. And it is this group of people that suffered the most during the Biden-Harris economy. Okay? The first-time home buyers, they suffered the most during the Biden-Harris economy right here in Wisconsin. On one hand, there's lack of housing for first-time home buyers. There's lack of affordable housing, but you will find a lot of luxury properties. You will find a lot of luxury properties. Okay, but if you are a first-time home buyer and you're looking to buy a home, recap the last 4 years, it was very, very difficult. Very, very difficult. And now, it seems to me that The housing market is coming um, to, is shifting, is changing. It's coming to terms with the reality that houses are quite unaffordable for first-time home buyers and people in general. Joe is talking about rent going up. Yeah, rent. I talked about this. When property taxes go up, rent goes up. Okay. When housing becomes more unaffordable, rent goes up. It's not just for home buyers. Okay. Rent goes up. Um, so people know that for first time home buyers, things are very challenging. Houses are unaffordable. And a lot of hardworking people, they don't have a lot of savings. And we saw, even if you have a lot of money saved, when there's inflation, the value of money falls. So if you have $1,000 saved and then inflation goes up, your $1,000, you can now do less with your $1,000 compared to what you would have been able to do before inflation. Okay. So if you've got $1,000 money saved, but prices go up in the economy, then with the same $1,000, you can now buy less, which is sad. And that's what we saw during the Biden Harris administration days. Anyway, reportedly, existing home sales continued to fall in April of this year, despite a significant rise in inventory. So that's why I'm saying that the housing market is changing. Things are shifting. Okay. Many believe that the rising prices of the last few years and high mortgage rates pushed many people out of the market. That is true. And I know that from conversations that I've had with people. I know that from the conversations that I've had, people I've talked to, realtors, first time home buyers, you know, middle class people, okay? Middle class people, people in the middle class, hardworking Americans. I've talked to them. And I know this that during the Biden Harris days, rising prices, eroding the value of money, and then high mortgage rates pushed many people out of the market. People who entered the market looking at homes, going to showings, going to open houses, looking to buy their first home, looking to buy, a modest home, a decent home, not like high end luxury. I'm not even talking about that. Um, they were pushed out of the market. So there are people who want to buy a home, who wanted to buy a home, they still want to buy a home, but could not. And now they are just sitting silently, watching, perhaps, observing. The market is cooling. Some say that the market is cooling. So reportedly, home price growth has been slowing in different parts of the country. And inventory is rising. So, for example, I saw a report that in Arizona, the real estate market is cooling, prices are falling, and inventory is rising in Arizona. In San Diego, California, reportedly in the month of April, there was increased inventory. In Southwest Florida, high inventory, according to a report I read. In DC, housing inventory has risen sharply. And in many other places, I just gave you some examples because these are news reports that I saw. Arizona, San Diego, Southwest Florida, DC. But in many places in the country, major shift is taking place. But here's the problem. Mortgage rates are still high. Mortgage rates are still high. And so that's making it difficult for people to buy houses. Interest rate matters, my friends. Whether you are financing a car purchase or you're buying a home by taking out a loan, interest rate matters. And we know that the Federal Reserve held the federal funds rate unchanged, held it steady. Whereas many people are hoping for the federal funds rate to be lowered. The target range for the federal funds rate remains at 4.25% to 4.5%. And the federal funds rate affects many things. The federal funds rate, like, if you're trying to understand how the federal funds rate affects the different things in the economy, well, I can't possibly cover that discussion in this live stream. Okay, it's going to be a very long discussion, but just understand this in simple terms. The federal funds rate affects many things, such as car loans, credit card rates, personal loan rates, mortgage rates, and more. And the Federal Reserve, you may have seen this not too long ago. People were waiting for that decision, like, okay, is the Fed going to lower the federal funds rate? Kept it unchanged. Okay. So right now we are stuck with high mortgage rates, which is sad. And, mortgage rates should be coming down. Ideally, yeah, should be coming down. But the Federal Reserve, I do not know what the Federal Reserve is doing. Okay. And if you're listening to me, I don't know if you're an economist. I don't know if you're a realtor. I don't know if you're a banker. I don't know if you're a wealth wealth manager, a financial advisor, or you're just somebody who likes to follow the news of, the finance market and the real estate market and all that. I don't know what your background is. I see a lot of people listening to me. Or maybe you don't keep track of these things. That's, there are people who don't keep track of what's going on in the real estate market, the financial markets, in the stock market. Whatever your background may be, whatever your level of knowledge may be, let me tell you, we want low mortgage rates. Okay. That's my opinion. You can share with me yours. Americans right now are not taking steps towards home ownership because they don't want to buy a home when the mortgage rates are high. And that's why President Trump is pushing for the federal funds rate to be lowered. President Trump wants interest rates to be lowered. President Trump is very public about it. He has talked about Jerome Powell. And I don't know what is going on at the Federal Reserve. I mean, truly, if you have thoughts, you can share with me. What do you think is going on? Why is the Federal Reserve not lowering the federal funds rate? Trump wants to see interest rates go down. High interest rates are not helping right now. High interest rates are not helping. Hold on, my friends. I'm going to look here. All right. Make sure that you are voting in the poll. The poll question is, do you oppose property tax increase? Make sure you're voting in the poll. My friends, will you also please hit the like button? I see more than 100 people watching this video at this very moment. Okay. People come and go. I understand that. Some people join, tune in for the live stream. Other people, because of other commitments they have, they may leave. But I would really appreciate it. Those who are watching me right now, would you please hit the like button? People ask me like, okay, Tosif, how can we support your channel? Well, please, very simple. Like the videos, hit the like button. That's all you have to do, and subscribe. Okay, that's how you support this channel. Hit the like button and subscribe if you are here for the first time. Um, okay, so I got a question here. No, a comment here. Let me read that. A comment that says, hold on. Um, okay, so who's saying this? Give me 1 second. All right, I see Firefox is saying, my personal opinion is that the people running the Fed dislike Trump, and the best way to get back at Trump is to block his plan. That is something that a lot of people will agree with. A lot of people will agree with the viewer who said that there are people at the Federal Reserve, who don't like Trump, and they are basically trying to block the Trump agenda, block the America First MAGA agenda. Yes, I think that is what is going on. There are people at the Federal Reserve, they see President Trump making America great again. They see President Trump putting America first. They see President Trump fighting Biden inflation and lowering prices. They see President Trump trying to unleash American energy. They see President Trump trying to make housing more affordable. And maybe there are some folks at the Federal Reserve who are just like trying to ensure that they create barriers to prevent the implementation of the America First agenda. There are people at the Federal Reserve. I think that is what is going on. There are people at the Federal Reserve who are trying to block the America First agenda, which is why, as President Trump pushes for interest rates to be lowered, the Fed is keeping the rate unchanged. It's time to lower the federal funds rate, but the Fed is not doing it. Tommy Brown is here. Tommy Brown, good to see you. Tommy Brown says America first. Thank you, Tommy Brown. My friends, let's do this. If you support the America First agenda, please write America First in the live chat. Please, my friends, do it. Write America First in the live chat. Kyle is writing America First. Thank you, Kyle. Tommy Brown Jr. is writing America First. Thank you, Tommy Brown. Firefox is writing America First. Marjorie Bedford is writing America First. Thank you. Thank you, my friends. Overwhelming support for President Trump. Fred is joining us from Indiana. Fred, good to see you. Thank you, Fred. Lots of support for President Trump. Another viewer. I can't pronounce. It's Vasquez, right? Okay. Vasquez B. Sorry, I missed seeing the full name. Vasquez is saying America first. Thank you. I see a few people copying and pasting the same comment over and over again. Um, all right, hold on. Give me 1 second, my friends. Okay, all right. I'm going to continue. Lots of support for America first. But yeah, there are folks at the Fed, and they have control over the federal funds rate. And while President Trump, he wants to lower the rates, he wants to energize the economy. President Trump, he wants to make sure that people are able to buy homes. President Trump, he wants to make sure that people are able to buy new vehicles. President Trump, he's trying to help American businesses, but the federal funds rate is kept unchanged by the folks at the Fed. And that's not helping the America First agenda. That's not helping the MAGA agenda. That's not helping the people's agenda. What is the America First agenda? It's the people's agenda. It's not just Donald Trump's agenda. It's the people's agenda. The American people voted for America First. But the Federal Reserve is not helping. The Federal Reserve is keeping the federal funds rate unchanged. And every day is important. Every day is important. If we have to wait for several more weeks to find out, okay, what is the next action the Fed going to take? Are they going to lower the rate or no? Every day that we spend in anticipation, hoping for the federal funds rate to be lowered, we're losing time, and time is valuable. Time is of the essence. So the last time we waited, it was not that long ago, I forget the date, but people were waiting for the federal funds rate to be lowered, and the Fed did not do that. And now we're stuck. Now we have to wait for the next time now we have to wait for the next decision. Time to lower the rates. Time to lower the rates. And so right now we're stuck with high mortgage rates, and so many Americans are not taking the steps towards home ownership because they do not want to buy a home when the mortgage rates are high. I was talking to somebody last week who talked about buying a new car. And the reason why she is not buying a new car is because of the high interest rates. So there are people who are ready. They want to make a purchase. They want to buy a home. They want to buy a new car. And the only thing that is preventing them from buying a new home is the mortgage rate. The only thing that is preventing them from buying a new car is the interest rate on that loan when you finance the purchase. People have growing confidence in the economy, but the interest rates are having an adverse effect on people's decisions. In general, people are very, very optimistic about the economy. Yes, we are going through a period of transformation, and things can be a little uncertain when you're going through a period of transformation. When you see the tariffs and the trade negotiations, depending on what breaking news you get over the course of a day, the stock market also moves. The Dow may go up, the Dow may go down, depending on what's the breaking news of the day. If there's good news, the Dow goes up, the Nasdaq goes up, S&P goes up. If there's some kind of a negative news, or if there's some kind of uncertainty, then the Dow falls, the S&P falls, the Nasdaq falls. This happens. But overall, there's growing optimism. And this optimism started when President Trump won the election back in November. Right away, there was growing optimism because people knew, and people still know, that, hey, with Donald Trump, we're going to be better off. Hardworking Americans are going to be better off with Donald Trump in the White House. So as soon as on election night, people found out, oh, thank God Kamala Harris lost. Thank God the Biden-Harris days are coming to an end. People started feeling optimistic about the economy. So in general, there's growing optimism, but the interest rates matter, which is why President Trump is pushing for the interest rates to be lowered. And the Federal Reserve, they are blocking that from happening. So there are many Americans waiting to buy their first home, waiting to buy a new home, waiting to, trade in an old vehicle for a new one, waiting to buy that new vehicle that they saw on the parking lot of a dealership, of a car dealership. They like that vehicle and they say, I like that. I like the features. I like the color. I like that car, that new model that just came out. But I can't buy that because the interest rate is high. And so you understand that the Fed's decision has a chain reaction across the economy. My friends, I see lots of comments. Sorry, I'm not able to read each and every comment, but thank you for being here. Make sure that you are subscribing. Please make sure that you subscribe to this channel so you can stay connected, and you can get notifications for future live streams and future videos, okay? So anyway, we, the American people, we are eagerly waiting to see what the Federal Reserve does next. So even as housing inventory rises, even as prices of homes fall, the cost of borrowing money is still high because of high interest rates, and that is preventing people from buying homes. So Michael Brown is saying subscribers only mode. Yeah, should I do that, Michael? I'm actually going to be wrapping up this live stream very soon. So I don't know if it would be meaningful to change it now. I'm going to be wrapping up this live stream here very soon, in just maybe 10 more minutes. Let's see. Matthew Gonzalez is here saying Trump. Thank you, Matthew. Good to have you here, Matthew. Let's see. All right. We are 59 minutes into the live stream. All right. Lots of comments pouring in. The comment section is moving so fast. I can't keep up, but let's see. Okay, so the poll question that I asked today was, Do you oppose property tax increase? So far, 76% of the people said yes. They oppose property tax increase. Absolutely. I agree. I agree with the 76% of the people who said, I oppose property tax increase. Why would anyone want to support property tax increase? No one supports property tax increase. And that's why it was just mind boggling to see how the voters in the city of Madison, Madison is where I live. It was shocking to me how so many voters in the city of Madison approved a referendum to increase property tax. Just, oh my God. Every time I think about it, I can't believe it. Voters in the city of Madison, there was a referendum on the ballot, and they approved that referendum to increase property tax. Unbelievable. Unbelievable, my friends. So, anyway, the people in this live chat, people on this channel watching this video, they have made the rational choice. They are opposing property tax increase. No one can support property tax increase. I still see like 24% of the people who said um, they don't oppose property tax increase. So these are folks who want to see property taxes go up. I don't know why anyone would do that. Can you tell me, like, okay, if you're listening and you said that you don't oppose property tax increase, which means you support, okay? That's the conclusion I can draw. If you don't oppose property tax increase, it means you support property tax increase. Why would you support property tax increase? Why? Why would you want your taxes to go up? Now, if you say, "Oh, I don't own a home, so it doesn't matter if property taxes go up." Well, if you are a renter, that still affects you. Why would you support property tax increase? I don't know. I'm not seeing an answer. Uh maybe somebody will answer. Yeah, cuz there is no answer. There's no reason to support property tax increase. There's no reason, absolutely zero reason to support property tax increase. All right. Kyle is talking about the liberal states. Yeah, why in the world? I mean, it just makes you wonder, right? Like, why in the world are the liberal states always in financial trouble? The liberal states. I mean, you hand over the keys to the state to the Democrats, to the liberals, and the states are going to end up being in financial trouble. We see that in New York, we see that in Illinois, we see that in California. You elect the Democrats, you elect the liberals, and your state will be in financial trouble. That's just from history. That's just from history. Okay? You just have to go back and look at history. Democrats in California, Democrats in Illinois, Democrats in New York. See what they did to these states. Yeah, Kyle has a good question, good comment. Like, people are leaving California. Why do you think people are leaving California? Because the people are sick and tired of Democrat policies. They are sick and tired of woke policies. They are sick and tired of high taxes and taxes on everything. So, my friends, the housing market is something that we have to pay attention to. I hope that the Federal Reserve will make the right decision next time and help lower the rates. That is something President Trump has been asking for. Lower the rates, lower the rates. Why is Jerome Powell not listening? What is going on? Why is Jerome Powell not doing the right thing? Anyway, my friends, I'm going to wrap up this live stream. Let me end the poll. The question is, do you oppose property tax increase? Out of the 163 people who voted this morning, 75% said yes, meaning 75% of the people oppose property tax increase. The result of the poll is exactly what I expected, that overwhelmingly people will oppose property tax increase. So thank you, my friends. I appreciate you all being here. Um, who is here for the first time? Who here is here? Who is here for the first time? If you are here for the first time, will you say first time? Just write first time. Whether you agree with me or you disagree with me. If you are here for the first time, that's all I want to know. Are you here for the first time? A viewer is saying first time. Kyle is saying I subbed. Thank you for subscribing, Kyle. First time. Ansel is saying first time. Brian is saying first time. Um, Cameron is saying first time. I'm here. Okay, thank you. Um, Paul is saying 100 time, 100 time. Paul's been here before. Thank you, Paul. Ryan is saying first time. Vasquez is saying first time. I can't pronounce that name. Is it Great? I'm sorry. I don't want to mispronounce anyone's name. So if I don't know what the right way to pronounce a name is, I'm just gonna skip it. All right. Is here for the first time. Starts with a G here. Um, Michael Brown, always supporting this channel. Michael, always good to see you. Our friend Michael Brown. All right. Paul is saying much love, mega patriots. All right. All right. So G is saying no problem. So G understands. I'm gonna call you G if that's okay with you. All right. G understands that uh, certain words I may not be able to pronounce, and G is okay with that. All right. I'm gonna call you G. Or if you want to give me some other nickname that you want me to address you by, that's fine. But thank you for being here. Um, Ken is saying, okay, brother Toss, if I got to go to the pantry. So thank you for your channel. And God bless you. And God bless all my patriot brothers and sisters here in the chat. Thank you, Ken. Ken from Appleton, a great friend of this channel. Ken, thank you for being here. Thank you, Ken. And Ken works at a pantry, at a food pantry, Ken, right? And Ken is helping people. So, Ken, I appreciate what you do, working at a food pantry and helping Americans. So, thank you, Ken. Thanks for what you do. Miss May is saying, "Me first time. Thank you for being here." All right, my friends, I'm going to wrap up this live stream. Um, Thank you all once again for being here. I appreciate it. Uh, Please make sure Cuba is here. Hi, Cuba. Good to see you. Cuba says good morning. Tassif. Thank you, Cuba. Um, please make sure that you're subscribing. And I think you should also turn on the bell icon. I think whatever you need to do it to make sure that you're getting notifications for future live streams. Okay, so that whenever I do my next live stream, you can get a notification. You can tune in and be a part of the conversation. So thank you all for being here, my friends. I appreciate it. Um, may God bless you all. May God bless President Donald J. Trump. May God bless the Trump administration. May God bless the United States of America. May God bless our U.S. allies. And may God bless freedom loving people all over the world. With that, thank you. Have a wonderful day, my friends. Here in the United States, in the Central Time Zone, it's getting very close to 8 a.m. So, um, if you are in America, have a great day. If you are in a different part of the world, still have a great day. Have a great afternoon. Have a great evening. Have a great night. Thank you, my friends. And I'm going to be back again very, very soon. God bless you all. Thank you, my friends.